Well, once again, it's 5:30 in the p.m. on a Friday, a gorgeous Friday.
Yes, sir.
Unbelievable Friday. November the 3rd, I believe it is. I have never ever seen a November Friday quite like this one. So I've just had a ball all day long doing exactly what I needed to do, having all the fun in the world on a Friday, enjoying the victory that our tremendous Cubbies, they're not Cubs, they big bears. They ain't no Cubs. They are big bears, big grizzly bears, if you will, because they have brought a championship to Chicago. A lot of folks say, why are people so excited? Well, first of all, people are fans of athletic events, but they're also fans of the city. I'll be willing to bet you that millions of dollars of money have been brought to the city of Chicago, some of which found its way back into the tax coffers, which really means that that is money that can be used to help pay what it takes to operate a city. And so that's a big factor and that's a big help. Well, we're getting right down to the end of the line in this presidential election. Never have I heard of one quite like this yet. I mean, it's been a real doozy. But, you know, no matter who gets elected president, life goes on. And I have in the studio with me a gentleman who has been in business for a number of years, has an outstanding business, Gero Medical Supply. So why don't I just ask you to introduce yourself to our viewers and tell them what you want to tell them, and then we'll go to the phone and take our calls, and we'll get back into the spirit of responding.
Thank you, Congressman. I've known this young man here for over 40 years, and he know my family as well. And I also concur that Chicago Cubbies, as we call them, can now do away with the goat. So we're going to have goat meat sometime soon, I suppose. So it was a victory that was shocking to everybody and a nail biter. So I know we are grateful and glad that Chicago brought back the prize. Also, my name is Obi Wordlaw, and we have a company that's located on the west side of Chicago called Gero Medical Equipment and Supply. The congressman at one time, we used to bug him, pardon me for using the phrase, using ebonics, but we used to bug the congressman all the time to help us get business so that we could help grow companies and bring businesses and jobs back to our community. What he told me one time, he said, Obi, unless you know what you want, do not come back to me asking me to help you do any business. So when we finally found what we wanted out of the for medical supplies throughout the system, he helped us get federal contracts, and we have been in business now for 30 years because of this young man's efforts and working with us constantly to help us improve our lot.
Let me ask you, you know, there are a lot of Wardlows on the west side as well.
Yes,
in metropolitan Chicago,
yes, sir.
Period.
Right.
Reverend Wardlow, Bob Wardlow, just, all kind of Wardlows. Are you related to them in any way?
Yes, sir. And ironically, we all spell our names differently in period. So we spell our names W-R-D-L-A-W, W-A-R-D-L-O-W, etc. But we all family, and I think you could attest to this. When we all came from, as the phrase is used, from down home, then on the plantation, a lot of our names got misspelled on our way from moving from down south to up south. So, but in the meantime, I wear basically two hats. I mentioned my company, which is Gero Medical Equipment and Supply, which is located on 900 North Kilbourne, which we are in the 7th Congressional District, and we intend to always maintain so, especially as long as the congressman is in this area. Also, I am a veteran liaison for Dow Smith Residency. And what they're doing is they're doing a veteran village out in Ford Heights for 100 homeless veterans. And we're building, we have a 10.5 acre site in Ford Heights to do so. And I also have coined a phrase. In fact, I trademarked the phrase that says, follow the money from A to Z. And that, and I wear that hat because what we found out that black-owned businesses have issues in terms of raising capital. So the reason we came up with the slogan, follow the money from A to Z, is because everything that we touch has more than one component that has a price tag. So my issue is that we need to have dialogue on where those price tags in every issue. Now there's a barbershop, beauty shop conversation that we always get into, and if I'm talking too much, let me know.
No, go ahead.
That always says that black people need to shop with each other. Black people don't do business with each other. So what we're saying in the follow the money from A to Z is that theoretically, the black businesses are the leaders of the community, and yet they are not taking their rightful place. Now, if you notice, there's been many issues where we say, where can we go shop at a black business, because we don't see any. So my conversation changed to the fact that we need to have black businesses thinking that process in our heads. Because like in my company, you can't come to my store and buy anything. But because if your sister, brother, or a friend of yours happen to be, pardon me, in the purchasing department of a major institution, then that's where I would like for you to introduce me. Just like the library is coming here for Obama. How do I get business out of there? Now, the congressman just mentioned, and I also alluded to the fact that the Cubbies is bringing millions of dollars to Chicago. My issue is always, when I have people over to my house or I invite people to have parties, the first thing that I do is I turn the town, even if we're getting ready to watch a sports event, I turn the sound down and I dissect the money. So now my question, with all that money that's coming back here to Chicago, i.e. through the Cubs' victory, how many components in that, with that victory, are black people getting businesses?
All right. Well, maybe some of our callers may know. I noticed that we've had 2 callers trying to get in. So why don't we go right to the telephone and see if we can get one of our callers on. Caller, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Yes, go right ahead.
Thank you, Danny Davis, for your diligence, also for the community and the years that you spent through the community and for this information. I see you got a fellow veteran there. I'm a veteran that worked at Heinz briefly for the CWT program at Medical Supply. And I'm a resident of the West Side. I'm out of work. And I wonder if he's hiring, it was his company.
If I'm what, I didn't understand.
He said, are you hiring anybody?
We're not presently hiring, and let me tell you why, but we are looking to hire, because what happens at Heinz, for instance, when you heard me say follow the money from A to Z, Heinz spends billions of dollars in the products that we sell. Most of the services and the products that are bought by Heinz, and i.e. through the federal system, do not come to people like me. So what we need, if you happen to be a veteran and you're familiar with Heinz, then we need to get to the purchasing department so we can get some of that business. But I'll leave my number before we get off the air, and you can give us a call, because we definitely want to hire veterans, but we also want to know if you're interested in housing, because we're trying to house homeless veterans as well.
You know, I just met with the brand new director of Heinz, who's only been there a few weeks, Dr. Braverman, an interesting, delightful young fellow, kind of young. He just actually got out of the military, where he had been 29 years, so he's not that young, but he but I think he's going to be a great addition to the Hines family, and maybe we can increase the amount of business that Hines Hospital and other federal installations are doing with minority and especially black-owned businesses. That's one of the things that we have set as a goal, and that's one of the things that I look forward to working on in these next 2 years as Congress sort of starts another term in January. I know we got another caller out there lurking, so why don't I go ahead? Caller, are you there?
Hi, it's me. Got a question. What is Congressman Davis have to say about Comey's leaking alleged emails of Uma Abedin 11 days before the election? I know Dianne Feinstein has criticized him. Are you doing anything?
Well, I think it's unprecedented, but other than expressing your position on it, there isn't much else. The FBI, when a guy is made head of the FBI, he's solid for a long time. He can be there pretty much as long as he wants to be there.
I don't see it that way. I think you can get him to resign. There have been people saying he may resign. The president himself has criticized him. I think it was a rigged thing with Rudy Giuliani and his contacts, his connections with the FBI. They set this up October 25th on Fox News. He insinuated it was going to come down. So
I've never known a head of the FBI to resign because of anything somebody said.
Well, maybe this is going to happen, but I think you congressmen need to have a petition against this nonsense.
All right.
Well, one more question, though. Have you done anything about getting the Ricketts to support a major baseball academy in Illinois?
Getting the Ricketts to support kids.
Remember this past summer, I proposed. And I said, you said you had contacts, and to build a Dominican Republic academy, the baseball academy, so all the youth of not only Illinois.
Ricketts just announced a couple weeks ago that they were doing more outreach into the community.
Oh, good.
Pardon me. They just made that announcement a couple weeks ago, and I'm not sure it had much to do with the fact that they were winning, the pennant and now the World Series. But they made the announcement, and they said they didn't want people to think of the Cubs as being Wrigley Field or being North Side, that they wanted people to think of the Cubs as being all of the metropolitan area of Chicago, and that they were going to have greater presence in the community, which means that they're going to support initiatives in the community in a greater way than what they've done.
Well, I think a great way.
You asked the congressman about the FBI person, and I came on to talk about, and I'm into where you are, but let me tell you what my position is regarding that. The slogan is follow the money from A to Z, and the purpose for constantly bringing that up.
Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
I think having an academy, a baseball academy, for all the very
can you hear me,
people.
Young lady, can you hear me? Can you hear? Here's what I'm saying to you. Anything that we need to change in our community requires money. So if you have an issue with that particular FBI agent or FBI department, even though we can't change him now because of his tenure, but by the same token, if you put enough people in or you have enough funds to where you're able to invest in making sure Congressman Davis don't ever have to worry about raising money because he can go down and really be a tough congressman, then you and I can have some issues in reference to anybody that say that they're representing us and they're doing so unfairly. He also mentioned something about what the Cubs are doing. I'm coming to you from a business perspective.
If I have money, I can do this.
No, here, young lady. Let me answer this to you.
To resign. He's part of a pawn of the GOP. That's what he is.
Well, it's okay. Here's the point. Regardless of whoever's in power.
You don't need money to move on.org to get a petition.
Can I make my point? Can I make my point? Then you can have your point of view. My point of view is regardless of what party is in office, they playing with a lot of money, and you're not getting any. So if you get some and you got an issue, then if you're giving me enough of that money, or you helping black businesses develop where they can hire our people or also have enough money, then if you feel as strongly as you do about that issue, then we can help you with raise some money the way the Koch brothers helped created the Tea Party. But because you and I don't have no funds, all you and I can do is have a barbershop conversation on what we think should happen and not happen, but it's all about following the money and handling the funds.
All right, well, we're going to keep working on the Cubs, we're going to keep working on the Ricketts, and we're going to keep trying to generate that money that Mr. Warner was talking about. You know, I often tell a little joke about being in college, and I wrote my daddy a little letter and say, "Dear Dad, no man, no fun, your son." He wrote me back and say, "It's bad, awfully sad, your dad." But we got to get the money in. If we got another call, we'll take that caller now. Caller, are you there? All right, so I don't think we have another caller, but
okay.
Obi, how do we force the government? I'm saying, you just mentioned that the government, just the VA, spends billions of dollars every year. And I've never known a year yet where I thought that African American and minority businesses got a fair share or got that share of the business that they should have been able to get based upon our percentages and our numbers. How do we improve that? How do we get more of that money back in the hands of people like yourself?
One of the things that we found out through the Department of Defense, they have a goal that says 5% of everything that they buy must go to a small, minority, black-owned company. Not black-owned, but small minority company. We found out throughout our tenure as being in business 30 years that the government considers a small company 100 employees and $500 million. That's considered a small company. Now, there are some smaller subsets that they also say, but the reason why I came up with the phrase, and I keep repeating that over and over, is that when we follow the money, we need to know how to sustain and grow black-owned businesses. Now, I was at a meeting at, is it okay to mention Mos Marion? I was at a meeting at Mos Marion after the Million Man March. They had a group of young men and women that was talking about boycotting Black Friday. And when they said that, I stood up and I asked the question. I said, if this company that you are planning on boycotting lay off all the black people that work for them, where are they going to work? You don't have, there's some statistics out, I won't quote that over the air, but the statistics are that most black-owned businesses only hire 1 to 2 employees. So if you're only hiring 1 to 2 employees, you can't create no jobs. So what we need to do is figure out how to invest in our black-owned company. So after I asked that question, they brought up another instance where this young black business had a clothing store. And in that clothing store, they were getting designers to give them their clothes on consignment, and this major corporation came along, paid these young people up front, and then turned around and undersold the company, and he went out of business. I stood up again and I said, well, he didn't go out of business because we didn't buy from him. He went out of business because he didn't have enough money to become as large as the corporation so that he could compete. So I also have a friend of mine, and this is where I'm really trying to go when I say follow the money again, which you'll hear me say often, is that a friend of mine, when Bernie Sanders was running for office, she had $29 come out of her Social Security check in order to be able to buy, in order for him to run for office. Can you envision getting $29 from our people in order to help us grow our company? You say you got 5 minutes, so let me throw this out there because I want this to really see where I'm coming from. How many black people do you see saving gorillas or gorillas in the jungle saving gorillas? Do you know that that's a $5 to $8 billion industry? That's healthcare, that's psychological, all kinds of components with that gorilla.
Well, I think I often say something a little different than that. I say the same thing, but I often will quote the Bible sometimes at meetings and say, the Bible says that any man who will not support his own house is worse than an infidel. Well, when I interpret own house, that means own kind, own community, own ethnic group, own race, own nationality.
Touché.
All of those kind of things become a part of my definition in terms of how do we learn to be more supportive. You know, there are some things that we don't necessarily produce a lot of and have a lot of, but there are some things that we do. And if people would support, let's just say black-owned restaurants, they could grow and develop to the point where they became more than a hole in the wall, where they could become a larger entity to serve more people and create more diversity for their business clients.
Now, I'd again follow the money from A to Z. You brought up restaurant. In that restaurant business, when I deliver some meat to that restaurant for him to sell to the public, naturally, we want you to trade with him so that he can become less than a hole in the wall. But the first thing that I look at is following the money from the A to Z. In that meat, how many components in that meat that is not being sold by me? So even though you go buy, the markup on that restaurant might be, on that hamburger that he's selling is 30%. Out of that 30%, he's got to do what he has to do in the community. But within that meat, that's the cow, that's 30% markup. We ain't got the cow. That's the land, that's 30% markup. We ain't got the land. So my conversation is not to put us down, it's to talk about how do we talk about money wherever we are. And one of the questions that I got a question there that I put out on a constant basis on a 4x6 card. And I got in a debate, and you'll be shocked who it was, but I won't say that. But the conversation was, how many jobs do black-owned businesses create? How many jobs how many black businesses do at least $5 million a year? How many jobs do black businesses have in our community?
Not a lot of them in that context, but one of the things that we do have is a lot of black votes. Given the fact that the election is coming up on Tuesday, I want to encourage everybody that listens to anything and anybody, make sure that between now and Tuesday, or before the end of Tuesday, that you cast your vote, because your vote is your voice. Your vote is your power. I want to thank Mr. Wardlow for being here with us.
Thank you,
It's
sir.
been a wonderful discussion, and I'll see you next week after Hillary Clinton is President of the United States. Have a good day. We'll see you then.